let me introduce you to some of the new features. We try to focus on two main aspects for version 5. One of the main area is importation of new sources. So we try to facilitate the importation of sources. We have been focusing a lot in the previous year on providing you tools to analyze your text. And but we wanted in version 5 to help you improve your data importation routine. So let me show you. We did create it from, let me know, and let me just quit that. So we created several ways to import new sources. First, okay, yeah, we can import documents, and this was part of QDA Miner 4, 3, and 4, but we added to that to those formats that we can import. Beside the Word files, PDF files, HTML, RTF files, we added the ability to import from PowerPoints and from ebooks. So those are two new formats that we added to the importation of documents. So each document will become a case, and you could start to code those quite easily. But what I want to show you is that we did implement a lot of ways to import data. Some of them are actually not new, like Excel, CSV, tab delimited file, Microsoft Access, and statistical software. But what we added is the ability to import from survey, social media, and reference manager, as well as email. So let's look at some of them. So for surveys, I could actually import from 5 different platforms. By the way, if you have some suggestions for other platforms, if you are using something else and would like us to support that, please send us email and tell us that you would like us to support other formats. So for example, I will use SurveyMonkey, and it will actually bring an account where I will have to put my account and password. So I need to authorize QDA Miner to access my data, and let me do that. Sign in, and it asks me to authorize QDA Miner. Authorize, and what it will do is that it will actually bring, and let me close this and open this. Now it show me all the survey we have, and if I can select the one I want, and if I click on that, it will allow me to select which question I want to import. But I could also import all questions. So if I do that, it will actually, let me bring that, it will actually import my survey, and let me save that. I will overwrite this, and it will come up with the data that I just retrieved from my website. So we have the open-ended here, and we have also so all those data. Now let me go back here. And the principle is the same for all survey platforms. They have different authentication technique, but basically if it's the same, you have a dialog. You may put a special key, and it will allow you to collect your data. But we also created tools to import from social media. This is something that people ask us for quite some times, and we try to provide a way to import from major social media like Twitter, Facebook, but we also had Rss Feeds. So if I click on Twitter, again, let me go back here. Yeah, I have 2 screens, so I have to move item from one screen to the other. So I could now tell the software what I want to retrieve, and I could do a basic Twitter search, but I could also ask, create a more complex search. But let's do a simple one. I will put iPhone, and I will limit myself here to 500 tweets, but by default within 15 minutes you could get up to 18,000 tweets, and I could include or not the retweets. Also I could have the software to geocode the location, so the software will extract the latitude and longitude for those who have enabled the options, but it will also try to geocode the location name of the user. But one thing also that is quite unique is that we also create a live monitoring tool. It is a separate utility tool that will run in the background in Windows, actually if in your system tray, and it will allow you to monitor. So it will repeat the search, this search. Here I'm asking to do it every day, but I could say every, say, 2 hours in order to get more data. And the thing is that the software will not only collect those 18,000 tweets that you are allowed to, assuming that there are enough tweets to reach this limit, but it will also, every 2 hours here, it will try to go on Twitter and try to see whether there are new tweets that you can import. So if I do that, it will actually import my tweets. Again, I have a dialog here that shows me how it goes, and it will also geocode those tweets so that I could later maybe look at how those tweets are related to some files. So here we have some tweets in different language, okay, and I could start analyzing that. I could start to create some code book here. So Twitter is one thing, but let me actually show you the web collector that is currently now running behind. So it is something that you could have access to the system tray, and that you could tell the software to actually run on Windows Startup, so that even if you restart the computer, the software, you won't have to restart the web collector. It will restart automatically. And here I'm following everything about the iPhone, and it will also allow me to, here I'm also following 3 RSS feeds, and from those, when I look at those, I can actually see what they are, what were the last ones that were actually not imported in my QDA Miner project. And QDA Miner will remember the fact that you are monitoring. So if I reopen this project in 2 hours and the software collected, the web collector collected new tweets, QDA Miner will ask me whether I want to import those new tweets that were collected by the web collector, so it will import that. So you could actually let the software collect and bring more data. So I have to go back to the importation data file, because there's also a lot of other features that we added. For example, we added the importation from NVivo, the qualitative software NVivo. So if you run that, the software will guide you through the steps needed to export a few things from NVivo, and then import your NVivo project, the document, the coding, the codebook, and the comments also that you added. Now, but what also is brand new is that you could import from reference manager tools. We already were able to import from RIS file, which is a common format used to exchange from those different tools. But what we did implement is a direct connection, so we will import directly EndNote files if they are from your computer, or we will also import from Mendeley or Zotero if you have an account. I don't have an account here, but I do have a sample sets. Let me go in my documents, and I should have, whoa, it should be, no, let me go there. Okay, and notes. So here I will open that, and I will have the software to save it. And now I have to decide what I want to import. The journal, the volume, the number, let's look at the secondary author, the keywords, and the abstracts. And if I could import the documents, if I have documents associated with those, and it will create a project. Here it created a project with 255 with the keywords and abstracts. In the first reference, I don't have any abstracts, but if I move later, I may be able to find, oops, I know that some of those have abstracts, okay? So if it did import all of those, it creates a numerical variable for some of those that were relevant, and it creates also text for other items. Now, again, let me go back. So reference manager is one tool. Emails. We could import from emails, either from your account, from a PST file. If someone sent you a PST file, you could export a PST file to someone else, or from Outlook.com, as well as from Hotmail and Gmail account, and Inbox for those who use the Mac. So the idea is that quite often people collect information in some of those in their email accounts, and they may categorize them into folders. And when you actually import those, the software will offer you the ability to import either your entire emails or specific folders or groups of emails, and it will create a project out of that. You'll be able to analyze it quickly. So we organize those differently than the prior version to facilitate the access to to the different format. Now let me open another project because I wanted to show you a few things. Well, first let me take for example Afghanistan, because I want to show you one of the new features of QDA. It's an important feature. It's actually a feature that was introduced with WordStat in 2015. At the end of 2015, we added to WordStat 7.1 a GIS Viewer, which is actually a mapping tool that will allow you to look at the connection between some text in WordStat and latitude and longitude information. So here we have a latitude and longitude. This come from a database of incidents, terrorist incidents occurring in Afghanistan that come from a RAND Corporation public database. So and I did some coding here. I had some bombs and guns, and so let me show you what we could do with that. So I could do some frequency analysis and get some information about those, and if I want to map those, I can select those, and you will see in several dialogues in QDA this button. This button will allow you to map it, and we created our own mapping tool, but we can actually import from other sources like ArcGIS, shapefiles, etc. So now let me select a shapefile that we had it, and I could also add some additional variable to add some information. And what I will do is I will simply tell the software to map that. Let me remove that. Let me remove this. I think this is what is causing me this problem. No. Okay, I'll try to show it to you later. Hopefully we'll be able to find out what is going on here. Let me repeat that. Okay. Obviously, there are a few things that we still need to work on. Is it okay? Yeah. So I'll need to check that. Now, but basically, the mapping tool will allow you to create heat maps, thematic maps, data points, and it's if you could zoom in, you could create also dynamic maps where you could see change over time or change on other variables or filter that. So let's forget about that. I'll try maybe if I have time to go back. But one important thing also is that you need to be able to get latitude and longitude, which is something that you may not have already. So we added one feature is we added a geocoding tool where I could actually select, for example, a postal code or country, the city, states, or province or country, countries, simply the countries, or the IP address if you have an IP address, typically from emails, and you could the software will return to you the latitude and longitude. For the case of IP address, it could also transform that into city, state, and country also. But let's go back and try to do a city, and I will put the country there. But actually they are all from Afghanistan, so I could also specify a default value, so I don't have necessarily to put to have a field for the country. If I have only clients from a specific area, and zip code from, say, the United States, I don't have necessarily to have a field for United States. I could simply type USA, and the software will know that I'm looking for a city in the USA. Okay. Or a zip code from the USA. So the software, what it will do here is that it will actually go connect to a server and collect information and store coordinates for all those city names that I've just created. Okay, so that allows you to come up and come with some geocodes. And of course, it may find items, for some items it may not find everything, and you could actually go back here and find out what it was, maybe because they were not part of a database. So we update this database quite often, but quite often sometimes people will make either spelling mistakes, etc. So we update those. Again, if you find that we don't have a good coverage of some countries, you contact us and we'll try to see whether we could update that. But of course, you could also, once you've done that, you could also assign those manually. Okay. Now, this is for the coding. I will try to come back to the mapping tool later. Now, you may have seen some of the new options here for those who have used QDA 4 before. We have a tool that will allow you to see items in a tree fashion. Let me take a better example. I will take the election 2008. Okay, and if I do a simply frequency analysis, it will actually give me now two tabs. One of them is a way to organize, to display the results in a very different format that is actually mimic the code book that I have. But of course, I have access to this table that will show me the frequency of those categories, and I can create the kind of maps that I can typically do in QDA manner. Okay, and the same is true also for coding by variable, where I will have a map display of those results. We also implemented something that will allow you to see, to get a document overview. So if I either right-click and select document overview or go onto document and coding overview, what I get is a display that will show me in my documents where the different codes are. And if I click on this one, for example, it will actually bring me to this location and show me this text segment. Okay, highlighting it here. Again, if I click on this one, so if it will show all those items. But what I can do also is I can actually sort that differently. So I could sort that by alphabetical order if I want, by codebook order, so if it will be the order here. First appearance will actually show me items, and in some cases it will show me how topics get introduced. So the first one will be the first one that appear, second one, third one, etc. But I can also stack those so that it will actually show me a quick overview of the frequency of codes. And if I do it this way, but what I could do is I could sort also by frequency. So I will get the most important one for each document. And when I move from one document to the other one, I will actually see those, how important are the codes for this specific document. Okay, so the document overview is a nice tool to get some good overview, or I can see where things occur. And again, I can move also to this specific location if I want to search for some specific code simply by clicking on this. But I could also create a chart for this. So if I want to create a chart, I could now move on to different cases by using those arrows and see all those different frequency distribution for all those codes. Okay, so this is new to QDA Miner. One thing also that we did implement is the link analysis. So when we look at code co-occurrence, we often have, we can obtain some clustering, and as well as 2D or 3D multidimensional scaling. But one way also to display connection between items is to use a proximity plot. What it will do is that it will plot different topics and show me how they are related, and I can actually plot them differently. Here I don't have a lot of codes, but I can, let me do it this way. I will bring all the codes I will apply that. Now I have all the codes. So that's a circular view. It shows me the connection, but I could start to see what are other connections that could be created. Then I could do also a force-based graph, and this is fully customizable, so I can actually delete some items, move them, and the force-based graph will try to represent those by trying to prevent those overlaps between lines. So if it's a visual display, that will be more appealing, and I can actually move some items like that and change the color of single item. And I can also focus on a single item and add the software to show me one level. So it shows me which items are associated with piece for a specific threshold. I could also tell the software to look at two levels, so it will show me not only the direct connection, so from the red one to the blue one, but also the indirect one, this way, or with the multidimensional scaling plot. Okay. So and what is important also is that you could select a link and you could retrieve items that are associated with both Middle East and weapon. Okay. So, okay, if it will take some time, at some point I should get the results there. Okay, so now it went through all my 253 reports, and it brings me those cases where both appear. Okay. Now, this is for this. One thing also that we found important to have is the ability, and let me reopen the iPhone. I don't know whether I will have cases like that, but let me try it. I want to save change election, let's say no. Is that when you import either surveys or social media, you may actually get some duplicates, and we had the ability to identify the duplicates. So if I go to case, find duplicates, it will allow me to find those duplicates, and I will use here only the tweet text, because I may have retweets here, and the software will allow me to either delete those automatically or create some variables that will allow me then to filter and only see the unique values, or only see the duplicate cases, or the duplicates and the original one that appeared more than once. So if I do that, let me create this duplicate variable. I don't know whether I'll have any. Normally I should have a variable here. Let's see whether we have any. So we have some duplicates, and I can now filter on those to remove those. But if I had chosen instead to delete those, the software would have removed those items. We also had a few things related to variables. So let me again take something that has been coded. No. Okay. So first we added some new data types. We added we add in QDA 104 a date fields. Now you have a date and time field. So if you need to store specific information about not only the day but the time of the day, you could actually do it by creating a new date and time variable. Then you simply select add variable, then you select the date and time variable. Okay, so that's how it would add that, and it will also import those. It will recognize those from Excel spreadsheet or from other sources and import those like that. One thing that we added is, and it's not necessarily appropriate here, but if I wanted, I could actually create new variables, either new document variables or new numerical variables, by extracting information. Here I did tag some text. I didn't tag any numbers, but if I was tagging numbers, I could actually tag them, then extract them and store them into variables in my project. So to do that, I have to go to variable and extract, and I could say, let's extract a document from, let's do that from war in Iraq, for example, and I wanted to store it into a new variable. Let me let me call it war, and it will concatenate all cases from, for example, this one, it will extract this part, and the other parts like that, and it will extract those. Let me do that, and if I go there now, I have all the things that have been coded as war in Iraq, but it did keep the coding that was associated with those. So if I have a focus group, it could actually extract everything from a specific person, and it will bring not only what he says, but all the coding that is associated with what he says. So this is a convenient thing to reformat that, but let's imagine that you have some documents and that you also have some, for example, a date that appear at the beginning. You could actually code all of those dates and then extract them as date variable or as numerical variable if you coded numerical value. So this is some of the tool that we had it. Let me try to let me look at here, import, yeah. There's also a few features that we had it, and I will try to show you sample candidates. I think it will be there. For example, we had it the ability to rotate image. Sometimes you import folders of photos or things like that, and you may find that some of them will be printed sideways, so you may want to flip those. So we had the ability to flip that so that you could fix it this way, but you could also resize it. But what is important is that, let me do some coding here, okay, and I'll do some pretty random coding here, is that you could also resize it, and it will actually not only resize it, but it will also keep your coding, and so that it will be adjusted to the proper location. But even if I flip it, also it will keep the coding intact. So you won't typically flip something like this, an image like this, but if you have a satellite photos, for example, you may want it to change it slightly, or a map, you may want it to flip it to look at from a different direction. Now let me just quit that, and I will just try to see what I could show you quickly. The mapping tool. I was not successful, and obviously we will have to investigate that, but I know that I did it just before and it went pretty well. So let me, it may be an interaction with what I did before, and we'll have to check this. So let's take this data set. I will do a coding frequency. I will select that. Oh, by the way, for when you have a tree like that, you cannot really select many items, but if you click on this button, you will be able to select all of those and then map those. Let's try that. Latitude and longitude, base map. I will take the Oracle map viewer, and let's try this. Hopefully I'll be more successful. Yeah, I am. Okay, good. So this is the GIS viewer. So and what it does is that it mapped some points, and the geocoding created some points that were not appropriate, probably because the city name was not there, but I can easily move it and zoom in, and from there I could actually add some layers. I could add, for example, a vector file, a shape file, for example. I could change the base map behind, and I could also create some maps. So let me create it a pretty quick heat map. The heat map is a way to represent the density of some data points. So I'll do that both for guns and bombs, and I will do quite a lot of smoothing here when I wanted to increase the precision, and let's make it 90% opaque. So we didn't try to replicate ArcGIS, which is a very comprehensive but also very complicated tool. We tried instead to create something that will allow you to create maps that are easily. Well, I did way too much smoothing, so let me reduce that and let me apply that. And I should be able to see, yeah, let's me reduce again the smoothing. I think I have a data point. Let me then increase the precision. I have a data point that is still far away from here. So what I could do actually is say that I want to only do a clustering on the visible region, and what I will get is something much more specific. So it will look only at those data points that I have visible here. Okay, and it creates a heat map that shows me where the items are. But if I zoom in, I could also recreate a heat map that will be specific to, say, Kabul. So here, if it went to Kabul, and again, if I edit that and I ask for a little bit more smoothing and a little, yeah, apply, it will create a heat map for that. But what we use here is mapping services, so you could actually zoom in at a very specific level. So here we have, again, it's still, I think we only have the Kabul city. We don't have a specific location, so all the points are actually on top of each other. This is because our database is not precise. But if you have a more precise database, the software will allow you to create a heat map that will be more representative. So here, if I jump back to the items here, okay, I could actually see. Let me zoom out. Okay, and if it takes some time, the software now is downloading let me do it this way. If it's actually downloading the map from the web. Okay, so this is a general tour of QD Monitor, the new features. There are obviously some other features. Let me go quit that. Okay, there's a lot more in the Gis Viewer. You could create dynamic maps. You could also create heat maps by putting a shapefile, and the shapefile would allow me, and let me do it quickly, and I wonder whether this was the reason. So if it will actually, again, create these data sets, but from here I could actually easily create a heat map that will show me how it is associated with the districts, and I will do that for the 2 data points with 5 intervals. Click OK, and it will create a heat map like that, and I can actually remove the data points to see. Let me do it on this and resize that. So now I have a map that show me the distribution of those 2 codes, bombs and guns, that I've coded in QD Monitor, and I can save that to a image file. I can save that also to a map and reuse that outside of QD Monitor. Okay. So I won't save that. I will go back there. There are a few things that you don't necessarily see. First, we changed the text engine to make it faster, but also support more thoroughly many language, including right to left language. But also we made a lot of speed optimization. So a lot of procedures in QD Monitor are much faster than they were before. Merging is probably 15 times faster. We have some other operation. QD Monitor was known to be fast. Now it's even faster. So on this, I will give to Tony. Or Tony will get back the control, and he will go to a question session. Okay, question and answer session.
Okay, thanks, Normand. So if you would like to ask questions, please use the chat box on the right side of your screen to ask questions, and Normand will try to answer them. We've got about 15 minutes left. If we take up all of our time, we'll try to answer as many questions as we can. If we run out of time and there's still some questions left, we will try to answer them individually after the webinar. Normand, the first question is, what is link analysis demonstrating? Is it demonstrating the frequency by which certain codes are related?
Okay, so actually, so let me go back. Let me take something that has been coded. Okay, so here you have some connection between items. This connection is based on the co-occurrence, how often they appear together. We actually transform that into we standardize that into a similarity measure. In this case, and I can change that, it's a Jacquard coefficient. So Jacquard coefficient could be seen as a kind of proportion. If I want to have something closer to a correlation, I could use the something else like the adjusted phi, but the link will allow me to see this the strength of this connection. Okay, and I could filter, and for example, if I want to see more items, I could actually reduce the threshold so that it will actually show me the items that are connected to this item. And one of the tools for that, well, beside presentation purpose, is that in some cases, here we have a quite simple clustering with few items, but quite sometimes you may find that, for example, this cluster seems to be a little bit strange, and you wanted to explore what is the connection between all items in this cluster, because you may find that it actually contains two separate, distinct topics. And you could go there, and the software will actually show you how those items are connected. And in this case, for example, peace is not necessarily highly associated with war in Iraq, Middle East, or weapons, but it is associated with national security. So I can actually see how all items are connected. And when I have a large number of items, I may actually end up with a group of nodes on one side and a group of nodes on one side connected by one word. And the typical example, if I was doing that in WordStat, this is a feature also that is available in WordStat, I could see that, for example, everything about Afghanistan and Al-Qaeda, etc., is also associated with something about global warming, but it will be the word Al that will be associated with Al-Qaeda, but also Al and Gore. So this is a extreme example, but it shows you how, for example, a single word, you could actually identify how a single word brings things together that may not be related. Okay?
Okay, and then another question is, this is about the mapping service. Does the user need to subscribe to a mapping service, or are they built into the application?
They are built into the application. So what we do is that we have, actually we created connections with public service, free service, and some of them, for example, when we initially started WordStat, MapInfo was free. Then they actually started to charge for that, so we actually remove it from our list of available mapping tool. But actually, if you want to reinstall it, if it is possible to reinstall it and use such a mapping service. But we updated that because there's many of those that are free. So we updated the list, and we will actually update that pretty soon to add new free mapping service that are there. Same thing for the geocoding service. Actually, the geocoding service is actually our own geocoding server, so you don't have to pay for that.
Okay. Another question is, might you add RefWorks to the reference manager import option list?
Yeah, we will work for that, but if I'm right, I'm not sure, and I will have to confirm that. But I think that RefWorks has been if I'm right, it has been purchased by Thomson Reuters, and I believe that they will no longer support it, and they try to move people to something else. But I may be wrong, because there's another tool, Reference Manager, also that is associated with that. So we will look at RefWorks to see whether either the format file format is available, or whether they have an API to access that. But it's a good suggestion.
Okay. Another question is there language recognition for the social media importation?
No, there's not. You could create your own if you are looking for a specific language. Well, you could specify in your searches to restrict it to some language like English and Spanish, for example. But there's a way to create, and let me actually show you. If I do a text retrieval, let me retrieve those texts. And we have the ability to have and to create a machine learning classification classifier. But in order to do that, we have here 23 language, and if I apply that, it will try to guess the language based on the text in those words. And my guess is that it may make some mistakes, but most of the time it should predict English. Okay, so we have one of those, so you could use that. But you could also create your own with WordStat. WordStat has everything that will allow you to do that. By the way, just to come up with the other question about RefWorks, if we cannot import RefWorks, the way around is probably to export to RIS file, which is a common format. So RefWorks should be able to export to RIS, and then you could import the RIS. But we will still try to see whether we could create a direct connection to RefWorks.
Okay, thank you. And one more question. Does the Facebook work the same way as the Twitter feed to import from Facebook?
Yeah, quite similar. So the software will actually go from a specific public page. It won't go to private pages. So Facebook has changed a lot, put a lot of restriction of what is accessible. So what you will do is that you could do a search. I don't have a Facebook page, so I cannot show it to you. If I should have asked one, but if you could enter a search expression, it will. I think it will. I'm less familiar with the Facebook, but it will import the post as well as the reply or what people, the discussion about this. And if you select monitor, it will actually monitor the. I think it will monitor this the same post, but it will import the new contribution, people who make comments. Okay, if I will have to validate that, but I'm pretty sure that this is what it does. I'm not sure about whether if it will import a new post, but I do believe it also if it does.
Okay, thank you. And I think this might be our last question, and we might have one more after this, but this might be the last. Could you briefly show the machine learning piece again, and just where you went and how you go to make it smarter?
Okay, so to make it smarter, actually, if I would have to go to WordStat, and I'll do that pretty quickly. So WordStat is a text mining tool. Now I will go there and I will try maybe to predict the candidates. I have 10 candidates. I have also a political party. So I could try to predict whether if it's a Democrat or a Republicans that come from speeches from the 2008 presidential race. And typically what I would do is I would take a large number of words. I could do stemming lemmatization. If I won't do it for now, I will simply take a large number of words. Let me change some criteria here. Okay. Okay. Now I have, almost 3,000. Let me just see, okay. And now I will go to the classification and I will select the variable that I want to predict. So I need a training set. So I need data that has been categorized. And then I could tell the software that I will develop a model on that. And this is all the words, and see I can see how they are associated with different candidates, and I can say I want a uniform prior, naive Bayes, or key nearest neighbor, and I could select that on, say, the frequency and weighted by the chi-square. And the idea is that I could come up, and here in terms of nominal accuracy, 84% already. I know that on these data sets I could predict probably at 90% or 95% accuracy. So it tells me that once I have done that, I can save that on disk and save that as a model, say, election. And when I'm back in QDA Monitor, so let me quit quickly. When I'm back in QDA Monitor, when I do some searches, there's a button here that will allow me to show a panel, and this panel will allow me to select well, let me, oops, sorry, no, okay, that will allow me to select my new classifier, and if I go back here, now it go through all my documents and it classified the paragraph that I extracted based on who probably said it, okay? So this is how I access the classifier. Any other question?
Yeah, this will be our last question. Is there a way to automatically code a list of single words?
We cannot code single word. Well, WordSet will allow you to do that by building a kind of dictionary. But QDA the way we work now is that we coded either a document, either the full document, either a paragraph or a sentence. Typically, you don't necessarily want to code a single word because you lose the context, and this is typically people, when you do retrieval, you want to get more than the single